I grew up in the Philippines in like the foothills of the mountain rice fields. This little town, very rural. That's all I ever knew was a very simple life. It was great to just grow up surrounded in nature. I moved to Canada when I was 7, and it was an absolute shock. I came in as this kid who never spoke English, and often other kids kind of, took advantage of that and had to sort of grow a wall. Because I grew this insecurity about not being able to speak the language and not belonging and feeling a sense of inadequacy. I think that carried on to some of my insecurities growing up and seeking a lot of acceptance from my friends and my peers. In my mid-20s, I ended up back in the Philippines. And while I was, on vacation in the Philippines, I ended up just stumbling upon this opportunity to host a travel show. Doing a travel show, you came with this life of friends and parties and, a lot of drinking and drunken nights. And basically from that, building that lifestyle, I built a checklist of what I thought I wanted out of life. So after a few years of being on the show and traveling around Asia, I came back to Canada. I reconnected with family and friends again, and it felt like everybody had moved on with life. Everybody had their own lives that didn't include me anymore. I've always thought that I would find happiness in the freedom that I would get from being in a completely new place. But being back home in Toronto felt like I had to rediscover myself again and find my own identity in Toronto, which was absolutely crazy to me because I grew up here and I felt lost in my own home. I would wake up every morning and I felt such a heaviness on my shoulders and such a heaviness on my chest, and I couldn't figure out why. And I felt like I was seeking something, but I didn't know what it was. And I was always, trying to see if it was to leave the country again, or if it was, to find a new career, or I was trying to figure out what was missing in my life. One day I woke up and I went on Google and I Googled churches in Toronto. And one of the first ones that came up was C3 Toronto. And it just happened to be right before Easter. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. From the beginning of service, I felt this deep emotion and I didn't know what it was exactly. And at the end of service, Pastor Sam did an altar call. And I walked up to the front of service and I heard, the prayer. And in that moment, I broke down. I felt in that moment that there was something different that I was experiencing. And I didn't quite know how to put it into words or explain it to myself. It felt like it didn't matter what background you were coming from, what ethnicity, what your past was, what you did before. Everybody was just there to just love on you and, pour into you in such a different way than I had sought out before. I think now that, I've gotten connected with God, life has changed in a way that I feel like there's a lot more purpose in everything that I'm doing, and I feel like it's not all about me anymore. Before, everything I did was always to serve myself and what would make me happy and what glorified me. But now, getting connected in church and serving in a hosting team and doing Bible and life with other people at church, it made me realize that I'm part of something bigger, and there's something that's way bigger than who I am. the same way that I walked into that church a year ago in that Easter service, and I was completely lost and I didn't know what I was seeking. I feel that same responsibility of being on the other side of that and welcoming that one person that's walking in and trying to find their identity in God. I was telling somebody the other day that there's very few things that make me emotional, and I think that first time at church that made me so emotional, and it still continues to do so, is when I hear somebody say that God will love you unconditionally. It's almost like saying, even if people don't accept you, God still will accept you and love you.